What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So things went from 0 to 100 real quick for Sony Online. They announced some news that didn't make a lot of people too happy when it came to the PlayStation 5, and then even later on in the day, the Avengers game. Yeah, so that was all over the place. We're going to go over all of that today. Also, the Analogue Pocket went up for pre-order, and then immediately came right down after being sold out. And wouldn't you know it, resellers are already taking advantage of that situation, and we may have had a game reveal kind of outed by, once again, a rating as usual. But if you've been watching Newswave for a while, you probably already knew this game was coming. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit the like button, helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're going to start today with the state of play that Sony has announced on Twitter. On my second channel, I did a bit more of a detailed video around this, what to expect, some of the things I was expecting, and I would check that one out. But let's quickly go over this for anyone who did miss that, so you know that there is a state of play and what it's about. You can see the Twitter posting here. Now, this will take place on Thursday, 1 p.m. Pacific time. That would be 4 p.m. Eastern, and they say to expect a focus on upcoming PS4 and PSVR game. No big PlayStation 5 announcements. It also appears that it's going to be about 40 minutes long. That is quite lengthy for not having any big PlayStation 5 announcements, but they will check in on third-party and indie games from June's PS5 showcase. So mostly an update for the showcase we just had, more gameplay maybe. PS4 games, 40 minutes of PS4 games. 40 minutes of PlayStation VR games. Not really what we were expecting in August as we head towards the PlayStation 5's release, that we don't know when it's coming out, and we don't know how much it's going to cost, and we don't know when the pre-orders are going to happen, and we don't know what the OS looks like, or even some other games that they haven't announced. It's a strange time right now, obviously, leading up to the console release, but I guess the PlayStation 5 has so much hype behind it that Sony figures that they'll just announce it like the day of or something. Now, we'll see. This is just an odd state of play to see announced. I was mostly expecting just more PS5 stuff, as I think all of us were. Also, if you were getting tired of that Microsoft with the Xbox Store, whenever you turn on your Xbox One, the S, the X, whatever, and you go on there, it's kind of slow, kind of clunky now, right? They've been playing around with it slowly, but now it looks like they're going to have a full brand new storefront that you can go on, and we did have some details around it, but the biggest one is that it will be faster. That's right, they did post this up on their news.xbox site, and you can see the new Microsoft Store on Xbox is more than twice as fast as before. It launches in under 2 seconds, and the browse performance is greatly improved. It's faster than ever to load pages and find what you need, whether it's checking out a sale price or watching HD movies. They say the beta build will begin August 5th for some Xbox insiders, and to me, this looks like a store redesign that they have geared towards the Series X and whenever Lockhart decides to get shown. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. They're changing things up, and they're preparing for faster systems mostly. I mean, they're talking about how fast it launches. If it's under 2 seconds on, say, the Xbox One X, with an SSD in the Series X, it'll probably be almost seamless. It'll be very, very fast, but that's always the biggest thing for me. Sure, it's easier to find stuff, and they've kind of merged things together, and again, put Game Pass up with more of a focus, but it was always kind of slow, so it's good to hear that they're working on that one. No clue when it will actually release. I'm assuming this fall, once again, closer to the Xbox Series X release date, but I would look out for some videos, and if you're an insider now, I mean, you probably have a day or two, and it should pop up for you. Oh, and speaking of the Xbox Series X, one of the biggest eyesores right now in gaming is that little symbol, the little sticker looking thing that they put on these games that are coming out, the big green looking thing. You can see it here. The thing that says the Xbox Series X compatible, right? It covers up like a third of the box art. Now, it's not that large, but it was certainly distracting and kind of annoying when you looked at the front of it. Well, it looks like they are moving it. It appears to be going to the back. Daniel Ahmed pointed this out, saying that Microsoft listened to feedback, and then following up saying that they moved the little disclaimer about how it is like Series X enhanced to the back of the box. That's great. If this wasn't a sticker, by the way, on like the plastic wrap, that would have been strange. I still think it was, but it was certainly an eyesore, like I said, very distracting from the game itself. But hey, good to hear they moved it to the back. I think most people understand that this is, I mean, they've branded the whole thing just Xbox. If you have an Xbox, Series X, Series S, whatever they want to call it, it should work. We don't need a big green sticker on the front to tell us that. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with this PlayStation 5 information that Sony did release yesterday. They put out a tweet saying, hey, you've had questions about your peripherals and your controllers, any accessories you may have, like your steering wheels. Well, we have a large list of information that kind of goes over all of this, and everyone's reading down, like, okay, all right, yeah, that's compatible, sure. And then they got to the bottom and talked about the DualShock 4, and it didn't go over so well online. Let's actually go to the PlayStation blog page you can see here, and they do go over it, especially peripherals such as officially licensed racing wheels, arcade sticks, flight sticks. Those will work with PlayStation 5 games and supported PlayStation 4 games. The Platinum, the Gold wireless headsets, as well as third-party headsets that connect via USB port or audio jack. Those will work on the PlayStation 5. That seems to me pretty straightforward and obvious. It's a headset, so yeah. The DualShock 4 wireless controller and PlayStation officially licensed third-party gamepad controllers will work with supported PlayStation 4 controllers. That's very important to keep in mind here. And then both the PlayStation Move motion controllers and the PlayStation VR aim controller will work with supported PlayStation VR games, because keep in mind that PlayStation VR headset will be compatible with the PS5. Now, down from there, will DualShock 4 work with PlayStation 5 games? No, we believe that PS5 games should take advantage of the new capabilities and features we're bringing to the platform, including the features of DualSense wireless controller. And this is the thing that set a lot of people online off yesterday, is the fact that the DualShock 4 will not be compatible for PlayStation 5 games on the PlayStation 5 system. And I have to say, I wasn't expecting that reaction necessarily, mostly because I figured we had become accustomed to this. But from what I saw yesterday, maybe Microsoft's idea of saying we don't like generations and we're trying to break down the walls of generations and all this stuff, maybe that's influencing the gaming market more than even I was expecting. Because I went into this thinking, yeah, the DualShock 4 is not going to work with PlayStation 5 games. The DualSense is a pretty big upgrade from the DualShock 4, just with things like haptic feedback, right? HD Rumble was such a big deal for Nintendo, and they kept pushing around in marketing. They didn't let you use the Wii U Pro Controller with it, and they seemed to really push the idea of shaking ice cubes around in a glass, right? And Sony's talked about driving over dirt roads. As soon as I started hearing that emphasis on it, and then their adaptive triggers, I thought, well, DualShock 4 can't really do that. If they are going to design specifically around that DualSense controller, they're not going to bring the PlayStation 4 controller forward for that. It sounds like, though, it will still sync up and work with PlayStation 4 games that are backwards compatible, which does bring up the idea of, well, they probably could have made it work, right? Probably, right? I mean, if you're playing a game like Madden, for example, you're probably not like going into it thinking, I'm going to feel the blades of this grass when my player runs past it with the haptic feedback. No, that's not at all what you're thinking. In fact, you might prefer the DualShock 4 over the DualSense. We don't know yet because we don't have the DualSense. So the option would have been great, but for me, it wasn't necessarily expected because it tends to be the norm. You get a new system, a new generation starts, there is a new controller of some kind. There have been some examples, of course, of the older controllers still working with the Wii to the Wii U. Technically, the GameCube worked with a few Wii games, not all of them. You still had to play Twilight Princess with the Wii Remote. You couldn't use the GameCube controller, despite them releasing the game on the GameCube. So again, it's kind of touch and go there. Microsoft, though, absolutely with the timely tweet. You can see that one here. Certainly, they say that they are not competing with Sony, but then they tweet out, in case you missed it, Xbox Series X is backwards compatible with all Xbox One controllers across all games, official Xbox controllers, the Xbox Adaptive Controller, Xbox Elite wireless controllers, and SCUF controllers. Yes. Microsoft certainly wanted to put that out there just in case we missed it. You know, you didn't know that the controllers work completely across generations here? We'll remind you just, an hour after Sony announced that the DualShock 4 won't be working with PlayStation 5 games. For me, though, the system comes with the DualSense. I don't know if I'm really going to be like, I want to pick up that DualShock 4 again, but there is always the possibility that I don't like the DualSense. And I go, kind of like what I did with the Xbox One controller, actually. I think about it, I go, man, I really miss that 360 controller. I wish it worked with the Xbox One. But I am curious what you think about the DualShock 4 not being compatible with the PlayStation 5. I'm mostly curious how many of you were expecting it to be, right? Because of the messaging and the marketing that Microsoft has been pushing. Because I do kind of think they are having some pretty significant influence on how we are viewing these changes and moves through console generations. Next up, let's talk about that Analogue Pocket. I was very excited for this, by the way, when we're rolling up to the pre-order date. Remember, I let you guys know I was waiting, and as soon as I went on there, the site was having some trouble, some real issues. It was crashing, it was really slow. Turns out everyone was rushing to get this thing pre-ordered. It was exceptionally popular, and if you look back on it, we have been talking about this thing for a while. It had a lot of viewership around any of the videos I did on it, and I think others as well. So, I mean, the idea of a high-quality Game Boy with FPGA emulation and all that stuff, right? That is compelling. So I understand why people were very excited for it. The problem is they sold out of pre-orders. The product's not coming out till next year. You figure they would just keep taking pre-orders and let you know how far out you are from it. But here's the tweet they did put out after it sold out, by the way, in 10 minutes. Pocket pre-orders are sold out. We will be producing more and do our best to meet demand during this unfortunate global state of affairs. Sign up at analogue.co/store to be notified by email when we are able to make Pocket accessories available again. So it does sound like that maybe some of the factories they were using aren't able to put out as much output, I guess, of these systems as maybe they're expecting just because of the entire pandemic, COVID, all of that stuff. It's hard to understand the logistics from our side of things, but it is pretty frustrating, to be honest, because it's been something I've been looking forward to and I was unable to get a pre-order on it. We'll see if they get any more in, or who knows. They did send me a review unit for the Sega Analogue system, and that was pretty cool. I enjoyed taking it apart, and I think they had some pretty cool things going on inside of there. So I thought to myself, well, let's go take a look at eBay, because surely no one pre-ordered the thing to resell it, right? And, well, there we go. One for $900. It is fairly common right now on eBay to search for the Analogue Pocket, only to find it being 2 to 3 times the price minimum of what it was being sold for on that website. So yes, it seems like just the overall hype of the system exploded right around time of launch there. Turned out everyone wanted to pre-order it. The site crashes. A lot of people are left out, and wouldn't you know it, yes, resellers are at this time jacking up the price pretty bad. So, but we see it every time. It's a shame though, because there are a lot of people who really want this thing and are missing out on it. We'll see if Analogue can kind of get some more systems together and open pre-orders again. I will keep you guys posted on it. Next up, let's talk about the Taiwan Digital Game Rating Committee, as they have accidentally, it seems, leaked a game out that is coming to the Switch, I think, kind of soonish. I think it's this year, and that is No More Heroes. A rating was spotted. Gamatsu had the story here on this one, pointing out that No More Heroes being rated for the Switch kind of falls in line with what Suda was talking about a little over a year ago, I think now, where he's being interviewed and asked if the first two could be making their way to the PlayStation 4 or the Switch, and he said that talks currently were positive with Marvelous about that, and here we go. A rating has now been spotted, and it makes sense leading up to No More Heroes 3, which, by the way, is still supposed to come out this year, so it might be good to announce that one soon with a release date, but he has at least been trolling and teasing us with gameplay, and I don't think he would do that unless the scheduling was at least within reason. This could end up being a January or a February game with No More Heroes 3, but if they do drop No More Heroes 1 and then 2 as a collection or separate digital games to get people ready, I think a lot of people would be okay with that and be like, well, I missed out on the first one or the second one. They did have another version that dropped for No More Heroes, the original one, I believe on the 360 in Japan and the PS3, and then the PS3 version came out over here because that's the one that I ended up getting. But I did like No More Heroes 1, 2 was good as well, and I am looking forward to 3. I just hope this means that we have some announcements coming up for the Switch, because it's been kind of quiet for Nintendo recently. It would be good to see them kind of get back to communicating and have some announcements like, hey, No More Heroes is available to pick up on the eShop today or this week. A shadow drop for that would be really cool. And in our last bit of news, we're going back to Sony and more Backlash. Sony's just under fire all day yesterday. So here's a tweet that was put out. This is from PlayStation. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man comes to Marvel's Avengers exclusively on PlayStation. Crystal Dynamics offers early details on its own unique take on the post-launch hero. That's right. It's coming out after the game release. It sounds like it's 2021. Spider-Man's going to be exclusive to the PlayStation version of Marvel The Avengers, and Spider-Man's a pretty popular character. Also, Sony doesn't own Spider-Man, as a lot of people think, for video games and comic books. It's just a film rights for the comics and merchandise and video games. That's all owned by Marvel, who's owned by Disney. So there we go. Disney's in the mix there, obviously. That's why Spider-Man was able to show up on Ultimate Alliance 3, a year or so ago. Remember, we talked about this at length when that dropped. We did. I remember going over it. I was like, no, they just own the film rights. That's why there was that big clash with Tom Holland in the middle between Sony, their Sony Pictures, and Disney and Marvel trying to figure out the rights, because Sony technically owns the rights. It's a whole thing with Spider-Man. But Sony doesn't actually own the rights for the video game side. That means that there was some sort of deal in place between Square, Marvel, Disney, and Sony to make this exclusive. And I gotta say, it's not great. I mean, it's a good idea for Sony, obviously, because they're like, oh, we'll make this exclusive. We got the in here for the deal on Spider-Man, so we might as well make it. It's not great for gamers, though, because one, Spider-Man, for a lot of people right now, is probably their favorite character here that was going to be in the Avengers game. A lot of people were wondering, okay, when's Spider-Man going to show up? Is he going to just be part of the story and they're saving him for after the game comes out to make a big surprise reveal of him? No, it looks like he's just coming next year on the PlayStation system. I assume PS4 and PS5 since it's going to be cross-gen. But then you got to think, does that mean that his story may suffer a bit because his story won't be able to exist anywhere outside of the PlayStation? Or is this a timed exclusive thing? Because it would probably cost a lot of money, even though Sony is involved with Spider-Man for film. Probably still cost a lot of money to keep Spider-Man wrapped up on the PlayStation side. Could be a one-year thing, and it's a games as a service game. So like, there's so many weird things going on with this idea. I'm not a huge fan of it, just to have Spider-Man locked to one system. It's not new. We've seen it with, obviously, a ton of examples. Call of Duty did this a lot, right, where there was like a timed exclusive DLC, and we've seen it with Soul Calibur a lot, where different systems got different characters. Again, the GameCube one was like the best one because Link was there, but Spawn, of course, was with the Xbox version. It's not great for gamers, not fun to see that, obviously, because if you want Spider-Man, you're picking up a PlayStation 5, or maybe you're sticking with your PS4, and that's where you're getting it. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Samuel saying, Nintendo might surprise us all and go with Virtual Boy online service. You know what? If they did that, if they said, hey, you can go on your online browser now for Nintendo online service, and you could download the Virtual Boy app, and we'll load that full of 9 games over the next year, because that's like the entire library, right? I would just kind of look at that and laugh, to be honest. It would just be hilarious. It'd just be such a weird idea. And hey, they could throw Labo support in there, just in case you're not wearing glasses yet, right? They can get you there. How do you think this happened? I got a Virtual Boy when I was younger, and now look, right? So, hey, at least it would be funny, although it would probably also annoy a lot of people, since that means they would have gone with Virtual Boy instead of the Nintendo 64, or the GameCube, or the monochrome Game Boy. I'm telling you, people are laughing. Just wait until September when they roll out onto Twitter and say you can download the original monochrome Mario game for the Game Boy. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button. It really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is Sony and kind of their belief in generations right now, and Microsoft going the opposite direction. Their Xbox controllers work between generations. Sony is pretty much walling things off and saying, hey, you want to use the PS5 to play PlayStation 5 games, you're going to be using this DualSense, and maybe it's $80 and you got to get another one for a friend if they come over, and you won't be able to use that DualShock 4 that you already own. Let me know which way you're going with that, or the Spider-Man situation. Not coming out till next year, but it's only on the PlayStation system, and it's Spider-Man. Whew, that's tough. And then the Analogue Pocket, did you get one? Let me know how that went down at like 0 hour when everyone was rushing that website. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.